So today's hot take is that nobody really cares about album sales anymore the way that album sales used to be a big deal maybe 10 to 20 years ago. Okay. And we're going to start our timer. This is 5 minutes, but I always go over. I just don't want it to be too long. So why do I say this? Somebody was asking me to talk about, do you think Ice Spice's album is going to sell well? And honestly, I don't pay attention to Ice Spice like that. And the music she makes, it's good for what it's good for, but I don't necessarily, it's not something that I'm following, So this person asked me that question, but in my mind, I just had a conversation over the phone with somebody else yesterday about how they think Chloe Bailey's album is going to perform. And her album is set to release in March. So I didn't even know that Ice Spice dropped an album because I don't follow her. Like, I'm not her audience. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not shade or anything. It's just, I'm not her audience. I don't seek out her content, but I do follow Chloe Bailey, and I did see her post, and I think YouTube ads have been hitting me as well, saying that the album is set to release in March of this year, 2023. So, do I think these albums will sell well? My hot take on the matter is no. And why are they not going to sell well? They are not going to sell well because people don't care enough about the artists. People don't care enough about albums and music the way that they used to care, like I said, 10 to 20 years ago. I remember like 10 to 20 years ago, and I'm basing this off of how I experienced music. I'm basing this off of how I experienced music growing up. And I remember I used to be so excited for my favorite artists to drop their music and drop their album. And the single would be released and a music video would come out with it. And my favorite music video platform at the time was 106 in Park. If it wasn't 106 in Park, then it was MTV's TRL. And it was a huge deal to premiere a music video on these shows. Okay. So it was a whole event. They would do that. And usually that single release was like the announcement of the album. It was like a buildup and anticipation for the album. Right. And then after that, the album would drop. And of course, that song would be on the album. Everything would be ready. And then the artist basically is gearing up to go on a tour, or they're doing a radio run, press run, stuff like that. So what I'm getting at with this, right, by mentioning those little details, I got excited, and you would hear it on the radio, right? So you would hear it on the radio, and then they would be announcing the world premiere of the video, and then the album would actually drop, and then they would announce a tour. So there was just like a certain order of how things were done. And I'm thinking, let me get some water on this. The reason why I say people don't really care is because the nature of how we interact with music these days has changed a lot. With the introduction of social media, we don't have gatekeeping is really not a thing anymore, which is a good thing. That's a good thing. Because of the introduction of social media, things like the music industry has been like decentralized. Like labels are not necessarily a need anymore, right? If you can figure out how to crack the algorithm and you can figure out how to become viral, and if you're a smart artist, you already have a foundation set down so that when you get a viral moment, you can keep attention because you have something that's holding people to you. I think unfortunately with some people that go viral, they weren't expecting it. So they don't have anything, like they have to rush to get material out there, right? But a smart artist has been preparing and they have stuff to be found once that viral moment of theirs hits, right? So with social media, there's like a lack of gatekeeping. So anybody with a phone, anybody with internet has the potential to get a bunch of attention without having to go through a label, without having to go to radio, without having to have shot a music video. So in a lot of ways, and I love the tool of social media as a marketing thing, but in a lot of ways, social media has messed up the exclusivity is not the right word, but that's what I'm going to say. In a lot of ways, social media has messed up the exclusivity of who could become a big name, or like, you know what I mean? Like it was a big deal when you made it to radio. It's a big deal when you made it to 106 in Park or TRL or some other video program, right? It was a big deal when you got on the morning show. It was a big deal when you just did all these interviews and, you know, you get on Breakfast Club, or there was no Breakfast Club back then, but I don't know what it was back then. But basically radio was a huge deal. You know what I mean? Because of the access that's been given because of social media, pretty much anybody can come out. And then technology as well. I had to crack my neck. Technology has made it so that it's pretty easy for people to record at home, or you can record on your phone now. You can record on your iPad, and the quality will be decent enough that people are okay to listen to it. And you could become viral off of that. And then what else happened the other day? There was an article that came out maybe like 2-3 weeks, maybe a month ago, that said 700,000 songs are released, distributed on Spotify every week. And if y'all heard the DJ Power Summit ATL recap episode, then you'll know that Rap Juggernaut did a little bit of music math with us and said that, you know, basically there's 2 million, 714, 21, 28. There's almost 3 million songs being released every single month. The market is oversaturated, basically, right? And you have like a 0.01982, something like that. 0.01% chance of breaking through that saturation. And there are so many things that go into breaking that formula. So when I say that, I don't think anybody's really going to care that Ice Spice released an album. I don't think anybody's really going to care that Chloe Bailey releases an album. And is it going to sell well? No. Albums have not been selling well the past 5 years, really, and probably really longer than that. But I just haven't done the proper research to give, you know, more figures on that. But I don't think, even with someone like a Saweetie, right? These people have like millions of followers, but they're only selling like 5 to 20,000 units. It's also, social media has also changed how we consume the music. So it's no longer even you buying an album, right? It's streaming. How many streams can you get to equal one album purchase? And that's really messed up a lot of things as well. So is anybody going to care because of how we consume music these days? I'm going to say no. Is it going to sell well because of how people consume music? No. Although in my personal opinion, I am wanting to see and hear a Chloe Bailey album more than an Ice Spice album. Just because, you know, the songs that Ice Spice came out with, Bikini Bottom was her second single, and then Munch was her first single. Those were cool. They definitely had viral moments. And I would say that Ice Spice gained more viral momentum than Chloe Bailey has. However, it's a very trendy song, and it's like the hype of that is gone, right? And then the hype of Bikini Bottom came and went like that, right? Her songs, like, they're not bad. They're definitely party and club songs, which me personally, I'm just not the audience. I'm not seeking out that kind of music. I'll be real with you. I'm always real. I'll be transparent with you. I'm not seeking out that kind of music. I don't seek out stuff from Ice Spice. Chloe Bailey, I'm not really seeking out like that either. But because Beyonce is one of my top 3 influences and Chloe Bailey is Beyonce's artist, I'm more excited and I have more anticipation for Chloe Bailey than I do in Ice Spice. And Chloe Bailey has been, even though I haven't really been following her music, like I didn't listen to For the Night in its entirety. But I do like what she's been doing. And I like what she did with her sister. Side note, I wish she would have given that duet act longer, more time before she decided to go solo. But that's another discussion for another day. But are these artists interesting enough? You know, back then when it was all about the music, and Beyonce would say the same thing, when it was all about the music and it wasn't about scandals, it wasn't about your personal life, then people would the sales would reflect, people would follow the music more, right? But now if you're not an interesting person, people aren't paying attention to you. And unfortunately, attention is not a currency. So I think where a lot of us are getting it wrong, we think that just because you get attention, that the attention is going to translate into dollars, but that's not necessarily the truth. And we can see that, you got some of these people got millions of followers, but they can't even sell 5 to 20,000 units. That's a problem. Even 1% of a million is 100. I'm sorry, it's 10,000. 100,000 would be 10% of a million. Yeah. 1% of a million would be 10,000. So you can't get 1% of your following to buy your album outright. That's a problem, because people are more interested in paying attention to the antics. They're not interested enough in, unless you're proving yourself to be an interesting person. And by interesting, I mean they resonate with who you are. They relate to you. A lot of these artists are doing things that are antic and gimmicky, but they're not showing that they relate to or connect to the audience. Unless you listen to the music and then Summer Walker, oh my God, girl, I listened to this when I was going through a breakup, blah, 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 or Scissor, SZA. I'm sorry, girl. I didn't mean to mess up your name. But yeah, so their music does well because people connect well with the breakup music. I don't like listening to that all the time because I don't want to be depressed all the time, and their music makes me sad. But anyway, the only person in my opinion that I could say is a superstar from the past 5 to 10 years, a newer female artist that's come out. In my opinion, Doja Cat is the closest thing to a traditional superstar that we have right now. She's interesting. She's funny. She interacts with her fans. I don't really love the way she talks to people sometimes, but I'm not a day one fan of Doja Cat. So, but honestly, she's the only one that I could see being having an anticipation for her album. She's done world tours successfully and she has a following all around the world. Right. So I think that makes more of a difference. So that's my hot take. People ain't buying albums like that because the artists are not interesting enough. And people don't care enough about their music to want to buy it outright. And we are in a spectator society. That is my hot take. We are in a spectator society, and attention does not equal dollars. Attention does not translate to money a lot of times. So yeah, that's my hot take. And hope y'all like that. Let me know what you feel about my hot take in the comment section down below if you are listening or watching on YouTube. And yeah, join me on the conversation of that. But yeah. I'm saying way too many fillers. So that is it for the hot take. Let's get into the Lex Chat. After these messages, we're talking about money. We're talking about finance. Let's get into it after these messages.